Hey everyone, Eugene here, back again with my man Christo, fellow niche snob. So we've kind of reviewed Songe de Bois de Té together. We've done Rose Nacree, so I thought it'd only be fitting to have you on for Encens Mythique. Not only that, but I know you're well versed, and you own a bottle and you've worn it several times, and you've just recently picked it up.
I'm much more versed in this now than I was when we reviewed Nacree and Songe. It took me a long time to kind of make my way to this one, and then it took an even longer time for me to kind of get into it. It's not that I disliked it; in fact, I loved it right from the get go. But I just had serious problems where I just couldn't pick it up on my skin, and I'm obviously not going to drop $300 on something that I just can't smell.
Right.
So I've kind of gotten around that. I've gotten past my, I don't know, inability to just find it on myself, which I knew it was. I knew there was something. I just needed to kind of hone my nose, hone my sense of smell, and I finally did it, and it worked.
So your nose is finally agreeing with Encens Mythique. So do you want to quickly tell us what convinced you to go ahead and pick this up? Like, because I know for a long time you were, besides the smell or the performance, you were kind of like up and down with all, as was I. From the get go, it was my least favorite of the three. I don't know if I can still say that anymore.
No. Okay. So, I got a sample of it. More than a sample. This is a mini bottle, essentially.
It's about 10 ml.
And I've used a lot. Now, my Nacree and Songe that I got at the same time, the same size, they're gone. They've been gone for probably a year, and I still have this left. Okay. Now, however, maybe 2 months ago, it was probably around there. Now it's down here.
That's about halfway. Less than a half, I'd say.
So it just kind of shows you how much I've worn it. And from the beginning, I knew there was something special about this. I've just never really smelled anything quite like it. Now, sure, there's things that I can take. Well, it has elements of this and elements of that and elements of this and that one. But nothing on the whole that I've ever smelled that's quite like this.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. If you take Songe de Bois de Té, it's like on the other end of the spectrum. It's bold, it's sexualized, it's dirty, it's raw, it's animalic. And you take, what else is called again? Encens Mythique, and it's soft, it's subtle, it's comforting,
it's very airy.
Right. So you take Songe, and I would compare it almost to like the beginning of a relationship where you come in contact with your lover, and within a couple of minutes all your clothes are ripped off, they're on the floor, you're doing outrageous things. And now fast forward 5 years later, you're still with that same person, but now instead of jumping each other's bones, you're on the sofa, you're cuddling, you're watching Netflix, and it's more of a relationship, romantic relationship. That's kind of how I see it.
I never would have thought of that.
And then you have Rose Nacree, which is kind of in between the two. It's neither bold and outrageous, nor does it have the beauty of Encens Mythique.
Maybe an idea, we should do like a video roundup where we talk about all three together. Maybe.
So we've already reviewed the two. Yeah, we can totally,
So maybe we'll keep our opinions of the other two kind of out of this, but and then do that. So yeah. Anyway, I agree, and I totally understand the analogy there. I described this on the way over as kind of ghostly.
Yeah,
it just kind of lurks around you. You're kind of like sitting. The fragrance is sitting around you, just kind of lurking and hovering around you, kind of thing.
It's giving me goosebumps. Like, what you're speaking is exactly what I thought of while studying this perfume.
Yeah. No.
Ghostly is a perfect word. But it's not transparent, nor is it light.
No, which is interesting. Do you want to? What are the notes? What are the notes in here? The only things
the notes to me are irrelevant in this perfume. We can discuss why, but I never really care to read off notes. We can.
No, okay. But I wanted to mention the Ambergris. Essentially, that's what it is. Okay.
This is a clinical study of ambergris.
Yes.
It's the most complete study of ambergris in any perfume that I've ever come across.
And I heard someone right before or right after I bought this call this the single greatest ambergris fragrance ever made. And from
Wow.
what
I have to agree.
my experience in ambergris is limited. Okay, and it took me a long time to actually isolate what an ambergris note is. I remember I mentioned this in a video. I think it might have been my video of my Creed Tabarome, not like the really super hard to find Tabarome, but the one that's kind of out there in mainstream and whatnot. And I remember people saying like, "Oh, do you get any ambergris from it?" It's like, you know what? Honestly, I don't even know what ambergris smells like. And I had people politely just saying like, "Oh, well, Creed used a lot of ambergris in their dry downs, and it's blah 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 blah. It smells like blah 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 blah." And I was never able to pick it up, and maybe that's why, because I was trying to pick up a raw ingredient like ambergris from Creed fragrances.
So let's quickly mention what ambergris is. So ambergris is a whale excrement. It's a lot of discussion and debate. Is it vomit? Is it pooped out? To me, it doesn't really matter because we might not ever know. Like, we just know it washes up on shore, a decade or two later after, the whale is done with it. So it's kind of something that the whale does regurgitate or poop out, and it's just things that it picks up over the in the ocean that it can't process.
Exactly, yeah.
And kind of gets stuck in I don't know.
It's kind of like an owl pellet.
Sure, it's some kind of a filter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Could be a liver for all we know.
And so the thing about it is that it comes across as kind of sweet and buttery. And I totally can pick it up when I wear this. Now, there's other things that I might be able to struggle to pick up ambergris in, but I might be able to convince myself it's there. But with this, you don't need to go looking for it. It's there.
It's all there.
It hits you.
There's no convincing or lying or...
No. So I do have some on my arm. Now, what I think as well, talking about, the relevancy of notes, I get more accords out of this. I get something that's really flinty. Okay, it smells like, when you spark a lighter, like a Zippo,
right?
And you get like that big flint in there, and when you light it, but the lighter doesn't go off, I get something in there. It's like...
So can that be like a smoky incense accord?
Yeah, for sure. It could totally be an incense. And I get flinty kind of notes in a lot of incense fragrances. And I love it. I love the kind of flinty thing. Not quite like gunpowder, but it gives you that smell of, just like really soft, fine, kind of warm smelling minerals. I find it really fascinating as well. And I do get kind of a smokiness, but I get more of a just like, hit you in the face kind of ambergris thing. And it's so warm, and it's buttery, and it's soft and delicate, and there's just so much nuance to this. But at the same time, I think there's only like
rich of like full
so
of
rich.
nuances.
Oh, I really only get 2 or 3 accords, maybe 3 or 4 notes out of this. But what it does to me, it just invokes so much, thought, and it's
very comforting and soothing.
Yeah, and it makes me, I don't know, just like to analyze it. I find it maybe because I've never really smelled anything like it. So now when I smell stuff, it's like, oh yeah, it smells like that. And not to take away from it, I'll say like, oh yeah, Cuir de Rossi smells like, Cuir de Nage smells like Cuir de Rossi.
Sure, they have similarities, but
they have some similarities, and they're both fantastic. I'm not taking something away from either one. But when it's just like, if you ask me what does it smell like, I'd be at a loss for words. Like, what else have you tried that it smells like? I'd just be like,
I've got a couple of things that it reminds, but we'll discuss them later. Let's just kind of talk about the smell right now.
Okay.
When I put this on, I get a very balsamic, soapy, salty,
Salty.
aldehydic opening.
Okay, interesting, because you mentioned some stuff in there that I've never even thought of, but the salty, definitely.
It's got that
Okay.
salty accord of, that, the lover's skin that's dried down already. So the sweat's kind of dried off, and you're left with this salty accord.
Yeah, I totally get that. And now that you mention it, I can totally see the aldehydic thing. That makes sense to me. I never, maybe not would have picked that up on my own, but I can see it. But it's that fizzy kind of flinty thing. That's maybe what I was describing it as. So what you're seeing as aldehydes, I'm seeing as like flinty, minerally, kind of, just like sparkling. You know what I mean when you light those lighters and you see the little sparks and you get that smell? That's what it reminds me of.
Aldehydes do have that champagne sparkle to them, that fizz.
Mm-hmm.
This is a little bit more toned down. It's not in that number 5 realm, but number 5 does come to mind when I wear this.
Interesting. Because we were just talking about number 5.
Right.
And
I still
some
want
of
to
those
kind of
things
save
you did
that
mention.
towards the end.
Sure.
So ambergris, to me, it's floating in the water for God knows how long. It could be 10 years, it could be 20 years, until it washes up on shore and somebody finds this lottery ticket because it's worth a fortune. So it does. Ambergris picks up that oceanic, aquatic, marine-like nuances. Even though this is not an aquatic or marine-like, but I do get those soft touches of that oceanic vibe to it. Not only that, but I find the ambergris is soapy. It is aldehydic. It's soft. Soft, soapy, salty. Just it's lightly spiced. There's a note of saffron in here listed.
Is there?
I don't get any saffron.
Yeah, I don't really get that.
Incense is in the name. Incense is in the note pyramid that Guerlain provides to us, but creative director Sylvain Delacourt says there's not a single trace of incense in the perfume. So there's definitely something in there that gives off that smoky, incensey accord. I don't know if it could be benzoin, it could be whatever
But it's there.
nuances. But when I think, like, what does this remind me of, or where does this put me to? This kind of, like, has me baptizing this piece of ambergris in a church. That's what it reminds me of. I do get these kind of dry, smoky, church-like qualities to this incense. And it's not, like, full-on, full-blown frankincense. It's just very lightly nuanced.
Well, yeah, and, that's exactly where the name is, Encens Mythique, like mystical incense.
It's totally
from
mysterious.
the Middle East.
This is a very, very, very mysterious perfume.
Yeah, the birthplace of, monotheistic religion. It's meant to smell like a church or a mosque or a synagogue or whatever. I think you're pretty spot on with that.
The way this perfume unfolds on my skin is like no other. It's just like peeling back layer by layer, one at a time, very slowly until all these nuances have fully, come out at you.
And something as well that I've noticed before, but not as much when I'm wearing rather than testing, but when I can actually smell it straight to my nose, kind of in the far dry down, it smells like warm. It's just like, it smells
There's
like
definitely
warm.
a warmth to this.
Yeah, it's just like, there's not even really any notes. It just smells like this nice, warm heat radiating off of a body. It's just so fascinating.
That takes us to what, some of my thoughts. It's almost like spa-like relaxing.
Interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that. I can
Like
see
just getting a massage or...
like a steam room, I can kind of see.
Right. Going out to the spa.
Okay, interesting. We're kind of coming into the sunlight. We're getting weird shadows and light patterns.
So a couple of things that this does remind me of.
Okay, go for it.
I forgot what it's called.
Said number 5.
Number 5, number 22. Slightly, it's probably the aldehydes. the aldehydic features. But now I'm starting to think that after getting to know this perfume and studying the aldehyde, not the aldehydes, the ambergris, makes me think 5 and 22 must have some kind of ambergris in it, because it does have that creamy, buttery texture to it.
Could be like, you know,
Those
orris
pastel-y things. It's quite possible.
Iris, orris root, something like that. But yeah, I don't know much about that, and I can see what you mean. I could say, like, you know, there's elements of number 5 that are apparent in this, but if I was asking for, you know, what does it smell like, I wouldn't say number 5.
You wouldn't say number 5. There's something else that smells more like this, and it's Christian Dior's Ombre Nuit, which
really,
the ombre in Ombre Nuit is not amber. It's
okay,
ambergris.
Because you were just talking about that a few days ago.
Rose is a listed note in both of these perfumes. I get way more rose in Ombre Nuit than I do in this, but I get way more and a higher quality ambergris in this than I do in Ombre Nuit.
I need to try that again.
Like, Ombre Nuit is almost the same thing. Like, the way it unfolds itself, it's the rose and the green spices and the amber note coming out. It unfolds itself also very nicely, like, very calmly.
Okay, so it's interesting you say that as well, because Ambre Nuit, I don't want this to turn into an Ambre Nuit review, but I have a lot of trouble picking up notes in Ambre Nuit. Like, I remember you gave me your little mini, and after like an hour, I couldn't pick anything up. And you're like, dude, there's something wrong with your nose. It's there. Trust me.
Well, I have the same problem too. Sometimes I can spray Ombre Nuit on my arm, and like a minute later, I can't smell it at all. But then there's times where, 12 hours later, I'm still getting whiffs and compliments from it.
I get a very like liquidy feeling from Ombre Nuit as well.
Almost like the same thing. Aquatic, oceanic, marine-like qualities,
but with the kind of
way back in the background.
I need to try it again. I can say I can see some similarities, but again, I wouldn't say they smell like each other. But I would say there's some similarities for sure that I hadn't even thought of till you mentioned it. But yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the study of ambergris.
Yeah.
High quality, real ambergris, not a synthetic.
Yeah, so Thierry Wasser actually showed us on his phone the ambergris. So I saw a debate recently in one of the fragrance groups. Someone saying like, "Oh, there's no ambergris and there's no real ambergris in perfume," and someone was like, "Well, yeah, there is. Like, a lot of people don't use it more because it's so freaking expensive." So they use synthetics, and this other person was like, no, you can't use it because of animal rights and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, that's not true, because Thierry Wasser showed us the ambergris that Guerlain flew him to New Zealand to source.
Right.
So it is definitely in there. I think it's more so that perhaps companies say that they don't use ambergris.
Well, ambergris is not
expensive.
Yeah, he also told us the price, which was like, don't quote me, but it was like for 3 kilos, it was $40,000.
It was something like that, yeah.
And he says the smaller pieces are better because they're more genuine. They could be like not hollow or
rotten inside.
Probably not rotten inside, but
yeah.
He pulled out his iPhone and he was like scrolling. And
we're like trying to look at his pictures.
Yeah, to see what else he had on his phone.
But I could see like pictures of like plantations and roses.
Right. He doesn't do a lot of traveling and sourcing for raw material. But the ambergris, when he showed us, it kind of looked like a human brain. Like he kind of had that kind of look. Or
I don't remember. It was a couple of years ago.
It looked kind of slimy and wet.
Yeah.
But
so yeah,
just a beautiful perfume.
Yeah.
Nothing outrageous, or I don't want to say it's not bold, because
I think
in terms of perfumery, it is quite bold. It doesn't wear bold.
Perfect analogy. Yeah, I think the scent itself isn't bold, but what they did is very bold in that they've made this fragrance that is just so unique, just flawlessly crafted with just the highest ingredients they could humanly source. And I think, I don't want to get too much into the rankings, but this has become, I think, a real jewel in the Guerlain line for me. I think because I kind of went from like 0 to 100 in like a really short span of time because I had almost no experience with Guerlain until you took me to the boutique. And it was kind of like I had brief experience with Derby, a little bit with like Spiritus de Louvigny, and I mean the exclusives, of course. And then it was just like, all right, there you go crazy. And it was just like sniff, 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 sniff.
Yeah.
So the big, loud, bold, daring things stood out a lot. Like,
and those were the things we kind of cleared out first.
Exactly. Like Nacree and Santal Royale and stuff like that. Now I've kind of gotten over those things a little bit. Like, I still enjoy them, don't get me wrong, but I kind of understand, why they're not as mass appeal as other things, or why a lot of the Guerlain feels don't like them as much. I'm starting to understand that now. But yeah,
Doesn't get a whole lot of attention. Could be
very little.
Partly because of its exclusivity. And I've been quite critical of Thierry Wasser lately, especially in his mainstream releases, but for Encens Mythique, I can only give him an applause because I think it's some of his finest work.
Yeah, I think this, because it's in an exclusive line that's really expensive,
it gives him more creative freedom.
Well, okay, so what I mean is like in terms of like it being overlooked. So it's an exclusive scent that's overshadowed by two colossals, Nacree and Songe.
Yeah.
And then you get this light, delicate kind of snowflake that'll melt in your hand, with this, and then you get like Nacree that's going to come and club you in the head with, a baseball bat full of, nails in it kind of thing. And then there's this.
And Songe.
Exactly.
So people they're obviously going for the more outrageous.
I think so. And I did as well, and I'm really glad I gave this some time because I've fallen madly in love with it.
But I love things that aren't so bold in the beginning, but transition and develop in the dry down.
It smells so warm. It just smells like my arm smells like I've been like sun tanning. I don't mean lotion, but because like this arm doesn't smell like that at all. But it smells like my skin's like baking.
Yeah,
it's so interesting. It's fascinating,
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else?
I don't know. I think we've kind of done it justice.
Perfect.
And, beyond. But yeah, I'm totally in love with this scent, and I can't wait to wear it over the fall.
I think you had a good idea. Maybe we'll come back and do all three in one segment,
and kind of maybe not rank them, but just do like
share our
in
feelings.
A final wrap up. And no, that was years ago, like 2 years ago when we did.
We did Nacree last year,
and then I think we did Songe the year before. Or maybe like
could be in
a
the
long
same
time
year.
Apart in the same year. But
I'm glad that we finally got to touch on.
Yeah, no question.
Anyway, guys, I want to thank you all for stopping by and watching. If you haven't, check out Christo's channel. I'll leave your link down below, but I'm sure
we're pretty much similar numbers. And I have to say, I'm really happy that I got to do all three of these with you as well. Because you totally introduced me to this line. I didn't even know it. I knew of the Derby line. I knew of the Parisiennes for Women line. I knew of the L'Arte Matière. I don't think I even heard of this until you took me to the Guerlain boutique.
To be totally honest, and I've said this before many, many times, I know it's like Mitsuko, Shalimar, L'Or Bleu, Habit Rouge. They're all like the wonders of this franchise, but it wasn't until the exclusives that actually pulled me in there and got me investigating. So
absolutely. And the first few that I tried, other than Derby, were the L'Arte Matière, and they, even to this day, they don't really do much for me. They're not really my cup of tea. So then getting into the Parisiennes for men, getting into these has totally changed my opinion on the exclusives.
I know you say that now, but once you finish collecting all the ones, and then you get to know some of the art materials, and you can find the craftsmanship, you might change your mind.
There's a few that I genuinely love, but
just like you changed your mind.
Perhaps.
I'm not saying that you're gonna love all of them, or you might not love any of them, but it's the silent ones that come back to haunt you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, let's wrap this up. Thanks, and we'll see you again soon.